Hi everyone, I'm Micheline from Americana Longarm Quilting. You may wonder, where do I get my inspiration for a quilt? Well, there's a lot of places. I may watch a YouTube video like this one. I may look on Pinterest. I have even visited my daughter in Nashville, Tennessee, and she took me to the Parthenon, and I looked up at the ceiling and I went, oh, that's a quilt! And I'm going to make that one day. But today, I'm letting this fat quarter bundle speak to me. And what it says is log cabin block. Look at these beautiful darks, so wonderful, and these gorgeous selections of lights. This is going to make a great log cabin. Now, as you know, there are so many ways to lay out log cabin blocks that you can get all kinds of different quilt looks. This is the one that I think I'm going to do. It's got a big star in the middle and concentric diamond lines going around it. This should be a lot of fun. Now, if you'd like to make this quilt with me, you can go on our website. There's a link in the description below, and you can get a free downloadable PDF. Let's get to quilting this. Okay, so I've got all of my fat quarters pressed, and I did spray starch again because these are going to be small pieces. Now I'm going to go ahead and get to cutting them into cuts of 1.5 inches in width. Okay, how did I decide on 1.5? Well, I made some test samples, test blocks. Okay, so this block has got the logs at a finish of 1.5 inches. It's very nice, but I like this one where it's 1 inch logs. It just gives a little bit more definition. I don't know. I just like the smaller one better. So I'm going to make it this size. And so you have more logs to cut. But first things first, we're going to cut all our strips into 1.5 inch. We're going to cut all our fat quarters into 1.5 inch strips. And then we'll do the sub cutting. Now you'll need 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, 9.5, and 10 inch pieces. And all that information will be in our free downloadable PDF. But I'm going to go ahead and get that cutting done, and then we'll get to piecing it together. All right, well, I'm back here working on our log cabin quilt, and I've made a pretty good dent. I think I've got about 25 blocks done. I need 64 to make it the size that I want, which I've got a bed in my house, and I thought this would look really pretty on it. So that's what I'm making this for. So I did want it to be that larger size. This fat quarter bundle had some beautiful darks and lights, and I thought, oh, I'll have plenty. I didn't. I ended up buying a fat eighth, and I ended up buying a layer square, and I thought, or a layer cake, and I thought, oh, that surely will be enough. Well, it ended up not being enough. So I've ended up having to, I forget what they call it when you do this, when you piece together a bunch of little pieces, see, to make the amount of blocks that I need. So I don't think you're going to notice that once it's in the block. I think that's going to be just fine. I also had to use some of the mediums that were in, some of the lighter mediums that were in the fat quarter bundle, and I had to take them over to the light side. So hopefully that will all still work out, and you won't see those mediums in there too much. But I was just like, I was like 20 pieces short, and I was like, well, I'm just going to work these in throughout the different pieces. All right, now I'm going to show you how to make a log cabin block, and it's so easy and a lot of fun. All right, All right, so let's get started on making this log cabin block. One of the things too with a log cabin block, it's great for chain piecing. If you don't chain piece, you're going to be here forever. But you know how to chain piece, and so I'm just going to show you how to do one block. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need is we're going to need a dark 1.5 inch square from the a 1.5 inch square dark and a 1.5 inch square light. Now, I always keep one of these blocks handy so that I know exactly, I'm going to set it right here like this, so that I know I want my dark on the right and my light on the left, and then the next one that I'm going to go to is a light, okay? So I just keep that up there as a reference. So I'm going to put those like this, get my machine set. I'm going to use a little bit smaller stitch because we've got some smaller pieces here. I'm going to put my glasses so I can see said smaller pieces. Okay, use my leader. Look at how nasty that gets. Isn't that funny? I have a drapery workroom. So I have blackout lining. And it's the perfect way to use as a leader. It doesn't get caught up in there. And so I just take little scraps of blackout lining. And the other thing I do with the blackout lining is I fold them over the end of a zipper and make a zipper stop when I do my custom pillows. So if you've got one of my pillows, open it up and see that there's a little piece of blackout lining. This one's been used too much. I'm going to throw him away. We're going to start with a new one. Okay. Set my needle down. And let's get these two lined up nice and pretty. And this is one of those blocks, again, that the 1/4 inch is really important. Nice 1/4 inch seam. Let me trim off that little fella right there. Nice 1/4 inch seam, and I'm going to press this towards the darker side. I'm just going to finger press on this little guy, and then I'll take it over here and give it a smudge with the iron. Okay, now looking at my piece right here, I've got this guy right here like that. Okay, so now the next piece I'm going to do is this light colored one. All right, so I'm going to get a light color. Let's go with this guy right here. All right, and I'm going to put him across the top, and he should fit just perfectly, or close enough. Petals trying to run away from me. There we go. All right, that there. Cut that little guy off. And now we're going to press away from the center. Every single time we're just going to press that away from the center. And I'm going to be careful not to stretch it out of whack, right? So I finger pressed it a little bit, and then I'm going to take it over here and press it with the iron. Now, what we're going to do, maybe I should just leave this guy here, huh? Now he fits there like that. So now we need this piece right here to go across here. So that's a dark. We're going to go with maybe this one, huh? Put him right there. Okay. See why it's so beneficial to do chain piecing with this. This would be start and stop, start and stop, start and stop, start and stop. Okay. Again, we're going to fold him over. And I'll give him a little press. All right, now, if you can see this, let me see where I am. I'm right here like that, okay? A good way for me to tell which side do I do next is that I'm going to cross over these seams, okay? And in this case, we need a dark, all right? Because we want a dark here and a dark here, and then a light and a light. So I'm going to put this way, and I'm going to get the next size up dark, which is that right? No, this one right here. So this was the 2.5 and this is the 3.5. So now we're ready for the 3.5 and see how it covers over those seams really nicely. Okay. That off. Okay. Trim that little end. Hi, Bullet. Sneak over here. My Bullet. He's my shadow. Love this dog. He was a rescue. We've rescued over the years, I don't know how many Great Danes. All right, here we go again. Now I'm going to trim, I'm going to go over the seams, but this time I need a light. And again, this one is going to be a 2.5, no, a 3.5, beg your pardon. Okay, so I'm just going to put him right there. Okay. All right. So this was kind of one of my darker lights, but you do what you have to do. Now I need another light, and this one's going to be the 4.5. Let's take him. And this is one of my funny pieces that are all pieced. But let's see how it looks on there. I think it's going to do just fine. Make sure those seams lie down nice and you're not sticking up all funny. Okay. Yeah, that did just fine. Let's give that one a nice press. Maybe I should press those seams open next time I come to one of those, so there's less bulk. But let's take a look at it. What do you think? Not too noticeable, huh? Okay, so let's find where we've got all those seams to go over. So it's right here, light, dark, dark, and that's the next one we need to do, so we know we need to do a dark one there. Okay? Now, I'm going to continue working on this, and I'll show you as we get to the end, okay? All right, so I've got everything done except for the last one, and I'm going to show you that last one now. Again, I'm covering the 2 seams, beg your pardon, 3 pieces of material, two seams. I'm just going to line him up with that corner right there, put him under my machine, and then before I go too far, I'm going to make sure that he is matching this corner down here. That way, if I have to manipulate it a little bit, you know, maybe I didn't press the seam open good enough or something like that. I don't want to stretch it, but if I didn't press the seam open all the way, then I can pull it apart a little bit. Trim my leader off, get that ready for the next guy. Now I'm going to put it here. I moved my ironing station over here a little bit. First of all, I'm going to set the seam, right? And then I'm going to pull him over. And this is really in every block, but I found especially in something like this where you really can't cut it down to the right size. You definitely don't want to iron it on the bias. You don't want to go this way across it because that's going to stretch that out a square. So you want to go with the grain or across the grain. You don't want to go on the bias when you stretch that. And there is our block. I think this will be 34 and I need 64. So yeah, another, what's that, 20, 34? No, 30. I need another 30 of these blocks. So I will be chain piecing so that will go a little bit quicker. And you can see that you really can't tell that I think they call this poverty piecing, where you piece pieces together. You see that in a lot of old quilts because obviously back in the, early days of our country, they didn't waste anything. And if they had a little piece and they had to piece it together to make a bigger piece, That's what they were going to do. And I love that. That tells the story about the quilt. I think that's nice. And I also don't think that this little bit darker color right here, I don't think that's going to throw off the block. I've taken black and white pictures so that I can really make sure the value is okay. And I think this is going to be fine. Okay, so I finally got all the piecing done. I had to make 64 log cabin blocks. That was a lot of sewing, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Initially, I had decided when I was cutting out all these pieces, I was realizing I am running out of my lights. Because initially I had wanted to make some 12 blocks that were medium and light, just to give one section of the quilt a little bit more dimension. And when I get it laid out, I'll show that, I'll point that area out to you. But I was thinking, I'm not going to have enough material. So I said, okay, let me drop back and just I'll split the fat quarter bundle into either darks or lights. So I did that, and I did a test block, and here it is. And to me, it's a little bit muddled. This guy right here just reads too dark. So does this one. And I just wasn't happy with it. So I said, well, you know what? I'm just going to have to order some more fabric. So I did. I ordered a fat 8 and I ordered a layer cake, and I know I'll be able to use all those. They might not have any more lights left in them, but I'll be able to use all that fabric someplace, because this was just a gorgeous bundle. I still ran out of lights. So I had to do some poverty piecing, and I had to bring back some of those, what I would consider mediums. Most of which I didn't use at all. I had to bring some of those back in, such as right here, and use those in my lights. And I think that's okay. I don't think that's gonna bother me at all. I am going to get busy laying this beautiful quilt out. I can't wait to see it out on my table. It's going to be too big for one of my drapery tables, so I'm going to have to scooch them together so we can get it all laid out, and then we'll get that final piecing done. All right, y'all, here she is. Isn't she beautiful? I just love the way this is turning out. Let me show you where those lights were. They're right here. They go all the way around the circle, the star. Let me show you what it would have looked like if they had been dark. Right here, which is also beautiful. Nothing wrong with that at all, huh? I just think that the light gives it just one more added dimension, and I really love that. Let me show you something else that I think is pretty neat. I was concentrating so much on these concentric lines going around, radiating away from the stars, that when I got it onto all laid out, I went, oh, what a beautiful surprise. There are 4 light squares and 1 dark square, and I just really love that. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my step stool pulled around here, stand up on the step stool and look down on it so that I can see if there are any pieces that I want to switch around. I see one right here that has 2 of the same color, 2 of the same exact fabrics butted up against one another. It's a scrappy quilt that really wouldn't make a big difference, but I'm going to go ahead and switch those 2 around. Shouldn't take much work. I won't make you watch me get up on the table to do that. And then it will be time to sew the blocks into rows, sew those rows together, and then it'll be time to put her on Eleanor, my Gamble Beauty, and get the long arming done. And I can't wait to do that and see how it turns out. Be back in a bit. Y'all, Eleanor's sick. She gave up about halfway through quilting my log cabin block, or my log cabin quilt. So this is where the log cabin quilt is going to sit until Eleanor gets fixed, which I've got to call into Gamble, and it looks like I'm going to get a technician out here in about 4 to 6 weeks. We can make that work. We can make it work. I had a lot of fun making this block. It was my first log cabin. It was a lot of fun. If you enjoyed watching this video, please like and subscribe so others might be able to watch it too. You know how those algorithms are. Until then, have a wonderful day, and let's get to quilting.